In the late 1940s, a group of Russian researchers conducted an experiment that would never be officially recorded in scientific journals, but it has been whispered about in underground circles for decades. The goal was to test the effects of prolonged sleeplessness using a stimulant gas designed to keep the subjects awake. For 30 days, 5 political prisoners were promised their freedom if they could stay awake for the full duration of the test. The subjects were locked in a sealed chamber equipped with books, cots with no bedding, running water, and enough dried food to last them over a month. Microphones and porthole-sized windows allowed the scientists to monitor the subjects. The gas was constantly pumped into the room, keeping them alert. The first 5 days passed uneventfully. The prisoners behaved normally, though their conversations gradually grew darker as the effects of the gas took hold. By day 9, things began to change. The subjects stopped talking to each other and instead began whispering into the microphones. Oddly, they seemed to believe they could earn the trust of the researchers by betraying their fellow prisoners. The paranoia escalated rapidly. By day 10, one of them began screaming uncontrollably for hours, until he ruptured his vocal cords. The scientists were shocked, but the other subjects didn't react as though they were used to the sound. On day 12, the first subject who had screamed tore pages from one of the books, smeared them with his feces, and plastered them over the glass portholes. From that moment on, the scientists couldn't see inside the chamber. They used the intercom to check on the subjects, but received only cryptic whispers in return. "We no longer want to be freed," one said. By day 15, the scientists debated opening the chamber. They feared what might happen if the gas was stopped. Eventually, they gave the order. The chamber was flushed of gas and filled with fresh air. Immediately, voices inside began to scream. The researchers opened the door. What they found would haunt them forever. 4 of the subjects were still alive, but barely. Large portions of flesh were torn from their bodies. Muscle and bone were exposed. One subject had removed most of his own organs, yet still lived. The floor was slick with blood. The 5th subject had died, but not from trauma. He seemed to have been torn apart by the others. The surviving subjects begged to have the gas turned back on. The scientists sedated 2 of them and attempted surgery. The first flatlined almost immediately, his body giving out once unconscious. The second survived the surgery but fought violently against being put under anesthesia again. He screamed, "I must stay awake." When asked why they had mutilated themselves, the only coherent answer came from a subject who had torn open his own abdomen. He said, "You can't understand. We must stay awake. Sleep is death." Despite the horror, military superiors ordered the experiment to continue. One by one, the remaining subjects either died or were euthanized after descending into madness, except one. The final subject, strapped to a gurney, stared blankly at the scientists. One asked, "What are you?" The figure smiled. "We are what you hid from in sleep. We are the thing you silence with dreams." The lead researcher, trembling, shot the subject in the head. Silence fell. The experiment was never spoken of again, but some say the gas was never destroyed, and the whispers, they still echo through cold, concrete halls, waiting for another sleepless soul to listen.